On the news, Rivers Assembly adjourns sitting indefinitely after Fubara writes to represent budget. Court suspends judgment to Kano emirate Tosu awaits Supreme Court's decision. And Akpabio accuses Natasha of fat distortion and misrepresentation. Many thanks for joining us on the news on TV360 Nigeria. I'm Tamilore Akinkwole. We begin in Rivers State, where the House of Assembly is adjourned as plenary indefinitely. The decision on the adjournment was reached during plenary presided over by Speaker Martins Amawele in Port Harcourt on Friday. The development also comes hours after the state governor Siminalayi Fubara wrote to the Speaker informing him of his intention to visit the House to represent the 2025 appropriation bill for consideration and approval. The governor, in a letter dated March 13 and addressed to the Speaker, said he intends to present the budget on Wednesday, March 19, 2025, or any other day within March that the House may deem fit. Fubara said his decision is in compliance with the Supreme Court's judgment and in response to lawmakers' request for him to represent the budget. And the Kano Court of Appeal in the Court of Appeal in Abuja has restrained the enforcement of its judgment that upheld the Kano State government's repeal of the 2019 Emirate Council law pending the determination of a suit at the Supreme Court. The Court of Appeal in Kano said had set aside the June 20 order by Justice Abubakar Liman of the Federal High Court in Kano, notifying the steps and actions taken by the Kano State government to the Kano State Emirate Council Law 2024. This included the appointment of Sanusi Lamido as the 16th Emir of Kano. The court held that the order nullifying the steps taken by the Kano State government pursuant to the 2024 Emirate Council law was made by Justice Liman without jurisdiction. The Kano State government also filed an appeal to the Supreme Court to challenge that judgment and sought an injunction to stay execution of the judgment at the appeal court pending the determination of its appeal at the Supreme Court. The appeal court is now granted that injunction. And the price war in the downstream oil sector continues as Dangote Petroleum Refinery quietly implemented the price reduction at its Lodi gantry, reducing the loading cost of its petrol from 825 naira per litre to 815 naira per litre. The development comes amid the ongoing price war between major players in Nigeria's downstream oil sector. The spokesperson of the Independent Petroleum Marketers Association of Nigeria confirmed this development. The new pricing structure introduced on Thursday was met with enthusiasm by oil marketers who, as a result, opted to bypass private depot owners and begin sourcing their products directly from the refinery. Meanwhile, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu has assured Nigerians that his administration has successfully tackled major economic challenges and is now poised for sustained growth. Speaking while receiving members of the 1993 National Assembly at the State House, the president reaffirmed that the removal of fuel subsidies was necessary to prevent economic collapse, emphasized that the reforms introduced by his government has laid a solid foundation for long-term stability and development. However, the members that visited the president appealed to him, who was also a member of the Third Republic National Assembly, to consider the situation for possible compensation.
For 40, 50 years, Nigeria was spending the money, the future of our generation yet unborn in arrears, or in advance of their being born, borrowing against it. Rentiers. We were servicing the entire West Central Africa, more or less. with fuel and we think we have oil in the ground. Unfortunately, it came to a stage that we are almost becoming unable to really plan for the future of our children and children yet unborn. But today, we are sitting pretty well on a good foundation. We've reversed the problem. Exchange rate is stabilizing. Usually at this period of Ramadan, food prices are coming down instead of going up extravagantly. I thank all of you for keeping faith.
It's not coincidence that you are the person who is president of the Federal Republic of Nigeria today, because your renewed hope agenda itself gives us hope. And it took us 30-something years to get to where we are today, to see the high priest of renewed hope, which you are the ones, sir. In fact, on the list of this delegation, one of the members of the delegation is His Excellency Senator Ahmed Bola Tinubu, Lagos West.
Senate President Godswill Akpabio has accused Kogi Central Senator Natasha Akpoti-Uduaghan of distorting facts and representing the Senate before the international community. Speaking during Thursday plenary, Akpabio condemned Akpoti-Uduaghan's decision to take a suspension case to the United Nations Inter-Parliamentary Conference in New York, where she alleged victimization, sexual harassment, and abuse of office against him. He criticized her for globalizing the issue and presenting what he described as a misleading narrative aimed at embarrassing the Senate. The Senate's president's remark came after he received a vote of confidence from his colleagues, urging senators to remain focused on their legislative duties and avoid distractions that could derail the work of the upper chamber.
So please, we still have so confidence in our female folk. In this 10th assembly of the Senate, we have only 4 women, and the 4 of them are all committee chairmen, intentionally, in order to give a voice to women in the parliament. So I think we remain resolute, we are law-abiding, we operate through the rules of the Senate, which is an extension of the powers and privileges given to us by the ground norm, the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. We still are open to making sure that we remain in peace, and we left room for her to recognize that what she's doing may even frighten a lot of men in future from even appointing or selecting female deputy governors. You can imagine if somebody like Kamala, the immediate past vice president of the United States, were to go on CNN to say that Biden, the president, sexually assaulted her by shaking her hand or by holding her hand to show her the office of the president. Then automatically it means that nobody will pick another woman as vice president. But I have 4 daughters, so I want to plead with politicians, still give my 4 children a chance. Do not take the action of one person and punish others. My religion and the Bible had forbidden that.
Well, we seem to have a network issue there. Moving on, human rights activist and lawyer Deji Adeyanju has called on Nigerians to focus on critical national issues, particularly the proposed tax reform bill before it becomes law. Speaking at a press briefing in Abuja on the state of the economy, Adeyanju criticized politicians for engaging in personal conflict while supporting policies that negatively affect citizens. I described the controversy surrounding Senator Natasha Akpoti-Uduaghan's allegation of sexual harassment against Senate President Godswill Akpabio as a distraction from more pressing policy matters. Adeyanju urged the senator to present credible evidence in court, while also arguing that Akpabio should not have presided over the case during plenary.
Our GDP has reduced by half, although they said the GDP is improving. I don't know how a GDP that is about 500 and something billion, gets reduced to about 200 and something. You say it's improving. The inflation figures, the purchasing power is low and low by the day. So you cannot tax people to death, because this will be equivalent to almost taxing people to death. Businesses are folding up. Even international businesses are leaving the country. Taxes are not the way. You understand? In fact, in order to improve the economy, the right thing for the government, I know that they want to fund the expensive lifestyle of politicians. The right thing for the government to do is to give tax breaks, tax cut for business, since businesses are closing up. I don't know why you believe that an economy that is already failing or has failed, you believe that the only way to revive the economy is to increase more taxes.
The Nigerian ambassadors for gender tranquility, NAJET, has applauded the Senate for its decision to suspend Senator Natasha Akpoti-Uduaghan for 6 months, describing it as a necessary step to uphold legislative discipline. The group argued that the senator's refusal to adhere to Senate standing rules and our alleged attempt to set a dangerous precedent warranted the suspension. Speaking at a press briefing in Abuja on Friday, NAJET President Elijah Tule commended the Senate for its action, stating that the suspension would allow Akpoti-Uduaghan's time to study and familiarize herself with the Senate Rules Book. The group also praised senators from the People's Democratic Party (PDP) for handling the matter beyond partisan lines and not politicizing the decision.
From the Nigerian Senate. 2, that Natasha's suspension is in her best interest, as she will use the 6-month suspension to study and get more acquainted with the Senate Rules Book. This will help her conform to becoming a better legislator and a team player going forward. That Natasha's suspension was strictly predicated on her refusal to obey the rules of the House she swore to uphold. Those who broke the same rules in the past have had to travel the same road down to a suspension term. So she's not the first, or she's not the only one. 4, that Natasha's sexual harassment petition against the Senate President was an afterthought that fell short. It is against Senate Rule 40, open bracket 4 close, to sign petitions by self. Unfortunately for Natasha, she broke the Senate standing rule as well by signing her own petition by herself. 5, that we commend senators elected on the platform of the People's Democratic Party (PDP) for their patriotism to Nigeria and to the Senate, by not seeing this matter as an inter-party one, but opting to do the right thing by supporting the corrective measures meted out to Mrs. Akpoti-Uduaghan. NAGET hereby renew our call on Natasha to come clean by publicly withdrawing her spurious allegations against the Senate President of Nigeria, Senator Godswill Akpabio, and to tender an unreserved apology to the Senate and to the Senate President, all in her best interest and those of the constituents she represents. That flying around the world to tell lies against the Senate, the Nigerian Senate, and the Senate President is an annihilation against the Nigerian state. And we want these futile trips to end now, or we'll be forced to call for more months in suspension for Natasha.
It's time for a short break, but still to come on news now. Nigeria's trade export hit $50.4 billion as exchange rate depreciation and full subsidy removal boost trade balance. Details of the story would be given to you right after this break. Welcome back. Now let's give you a quick recap of some of our top stories. The Rivers State House of Assembly is adjourned as sitting indefinitely. Now, this decision to adjourn legislative duties was reached during plenary presided over by Speaker Martin Semowele in Port Harcourt on Friday. It also comes hours after the state governor, Siminalayi Fubara, wrote to the speaker informing him of his intention to visit the house to represent the 2025 appropriation bill for consideration and approval. We also told you that the Court of Appeal in Abuja has restrained the enforcement of its judgment that upheld the Kano state government's repeal of the 2019 emirate council law pending the determination of a suit at the Supreme Court. This includes the appointment of Sanusi Lamido Sanusi as the 16th emir of Kano state. Now, in case you missed any of the news bulletin or for more updates, you can catch us on Limes World TV and AVO TV or log on to our website on www.tv360nigeria.com. You can also follow us on our social media platforms on Twitter, Instagram and YouTube at TV360 Nigeria, or download our mobile app on Google Play Store, Huawei App Gallery and Apple Store. On Facebook, we're at TV360 Online.
Opinions are free, facts are sacred, but truth is universal.
How, in practical terms, can we, for instance, de-escalate the tension?
Because when you go into public office, you must be ready to answer to the people.
We know where the enemy is. 3 places. The Lake Chad Basin, the border area between Nigeria and Cameroon, and then the Sambisa Forest.
On Deji 360, we give you a complete dose of everything. Opinion, facts and undiluted truth.
I hardly believe what politicians are saying in this part of the world.
A new Nigeria is possible, a future is possible.
We delve into the issues, dissect it so that you can understand it, use it to take action.
I don't think there's any need for any governor to look for grant for ranching.
Deji 360, dissecting the issues.
It's time for business news. Let's now join Victoria Akonde, who is on standby for more updates. Over to you, Victoria.
Thank you very much, Tammy. Welcome to Business News. Now, Nigeria's total trade exports reached $50.4 billion in 2024, fueled by the depreciation of the exchange rate and the removal of fuel subsidies, which positively impacted the country's trade balance. According to data from the National Bureau of Statistics, NBS, Nigeria's total trade volume hit an all-time high of 138 trillion naira, marking a 106% increase from the previous year. This figure equates to $89.9 billion, reflecting a 22.1% rise when measured in dollar terms. This surge represents a strong recovery from the previous year's 35% decline, which followed the government's introduction of a more market-driven exchange rate. Still on business, the Consular General of the People's Republic of China in Lagos, in collaboration with key stakeholders, has hosted the Lagos Forum think tank and media dialogue to analyze the outcome of China's 2025 Two Sessions Forum and their implications for Nigeria. The event had in attendance policymakers, economists, business leaders, and media professionals to examine China's economic policies, trade relations, and areas of further collaboration with Nigeria. TV360's Opayemi Owosheni has more in this report.
The Two Sessions Forum is China's most significant annual political gathering, where the National People's Congress and the Chinese People's Political Consultative Conference outline the country's economic plans and policy direction. This year's Two Sessions emphasized China's commitment to economic stability, innovation, and global trade expansion, themes that resonated throughout the Lagos Forum. The forum provides an opportunity for Nigerian stakeholders to understand China's policy priorities and explore ways to strengthen the Nigeria-China relations in trade, technology, and diplomatic cooperation.
China's economy continues to strengthen following incremental policies introduced in last September. The economy rebounded significantly, achieving the annual target of around 5% in 2024. In 2025, AI driving tech innovations, booming cultural tourism, especially during the Spring Festival, rising asset prices, and improved corporate confidence reflect stable economic momentum.
The acting director of research at the Nigerian Institute of International Affairs highlighted the importance of structured policy planning, similar to China's 5-year development cycles, to drive economic stability and sustainable growth in Nigeria.
What we have to learn as peoples from the developing world is that Chinese modernization has targets and is time-bound. Now, I remember we used to have development plans, but how workable are these development plans? But if you see that of the Chinese, the 5-year plan is actually pragmatic. It is stated categorically how they will achieve it from one step to the other. As such, the leadership dedicates time each year to self-assess the country, evaluate achievements, and strategize for that future.
Other stakeholders also discussed strengthening trade, cultural and educational exchange between both nations.
It is important for us to develop and derive more benefits in relating with China. When we do not, it will be difficult. It will be a little bit hard. Please, that is important. The issue of Taiwan is settled in relations. FOCAC has come and gone with so many benefits. But I'm not hearing it on the news that China has offered us zero tariff to export goods to China. I'm not hearing it. The entrepreneurs are not hearing it. They do not know about this. And because they do not hear about much of this, how can they participate in what they do not hear about? We need to convey that message strongly, repeatedly. It's important.
If you are in China, there is no way you will not love where you come from, because that spirit will ignite you to want to love your country even though you don't love your country. You want to go back to your country. You want to contribute to the growth of your country.
Beyond trade and policy discussions, stakeholders at the forum acknowledged the need for sustainable and inclusive development in Nigeria's engagement with China. The Consular General also announced China's plan to host a global summit on women's development, reinforcing its dedication to gender equality and global leadership in advancing women's rights. Okpeyemi Owosheni, TV360 News, Lagos.
Right now, we'll go on a short break and be back with stock market updates. Stay with us. Welcome back. The Nigerian equities market wrapped up the final trading day of the week in bearish territory, shedding 0.21% in value. The market capitalization now stands at 66.6 trillion naira. A total of 125 NGX listed equities were active in today's session, with 22 gainers and 26 decliners. Tantalizers PLC recorded the steepest loss, plunging 9.85% to close at 2.93 naira per share, and was followed closely by Jaiz Bank. Despite the market dip, trading activities surged with over 750 million shares exchanged across 10,584 deals, amounting to a turnover exceeding 11 billion naira. And when this is compared to the previous trading session, which is Thursday's, today's share saw a remarkable 120% increase, while turnover and the number of deals declined by 34% and 6% respectively. Now, contrary to the Nigerian market's downturn, global equities remained resilient, with all selected equities closing in positive territory. Now, switching over to the foreign exchange market, the Naira continued to trade, saw downward slide against major currencies on the black market. It traded at 1,590 Naira per dollar, and also traded at 2,020 Naira against the British pound and at 1,690 Naira against the euro. That's it on both business and stock market updates. Back to you, Tammy, for the rest of the news.
Thank you for that update, Victoria. Now, on the global scene, Benin's President Patrice Talon has stated that he will not seek an unconstitutional third term in office, but he intends to closely monitor the selection of a successor. Talon, a former businessman who had led the West African nation since 2016, will complete his second term next year. The issue of his succession gained attention in September when one of his close allies, Olivier Beko, was arrested on charges of attempting a coup along with former Sport Minister Oswald Omski. Also, an American airline plane carrying 173 people caught fire on the tarmac after making an emergency landing at Denver International Airport. The Boeing, which had departed from Colorado Springs and was en route to Dallas-Fort Worth International Airport, was diverted to Denver due to reported engine vibrations. Passengers were forced to evacuate using emergency slides and by climbing onto a wing, with 12 individuals sustaining minor injuries and taken to the hospital. The Federal Aviation Administration confirmed the crew had reported engine issues before the diversion. And finally, on sport, Liverpool's Trent Alexander-Arnold will miss the League Cup final against Newcastle due to an ankle injury, which is expected to keep him out for an extended period. The 26-year-old sustained the injury during the second half of Liverpool's Champions League last 16 penalty shootout loss to Paris Saint-Germain at Anfield on Tuesday. This setback is a significant blow for Liverpool's manager Arne Slot, who now faces a challenge with no recognized right back available for Sunday's League Cup final at Wembley. And England head coach Thomas Tuchel has announced the squad for the upcoming FIFA 2026 World Cup qualifiers against Albania and Latvia in March. Notable recalls include Marcus Rashford, Reece James and Jordan Anderson. The Three Lions will begin their campaign with a double-header at Wembley, aiming to secure a spot in next year's World Cup finals in the USA, Canada and Mexico. And that wraps up our bulletin on news now. Many thanks for watching. See you again next time.